was listening to the Bible stories my teacher would tell. Stories of battles and miracles, love and forgiveness, trials and tribulations. Stories of men and women with incredible faith who were given great tasks by God. But out of all of them, my favorite by far is the story of a shepherd boy who faced a giant, defeated a great army, and one day became king. If you haven't guessed already, it's one of the most legendary stories ever told. The story of David and Goliath. We all know how the story goes. David, a simple shepherd boy with an incredible destiny, armed himself with a pouch of stones and a slingshot, faced Goliath, a giant of the Philistine army. Goliath stood over 9 feet tall, dressed in full armor, equipped with a sword, spear, and javelin. As Goliath charged, David calmly reached into his pouch, grabbed a stone, placed it in his slingshot, swung it around his head, and well, the rest is history. Often I wonder how anyone could have such great odds against them, stand up and defeat their giant with such unwavering courage. We have all had giants in our lives. Giants of fear and doubt, anger and uncertainty, shading us from the light of truth. When we are at our weakest, it feels like those giants are at their strongest. Let me tell you about an individual who was at his lowest low, but found the courage to stand tall and face his giant head on. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, I hope you all get a chance to meet Stetson Larson of the Ontario FFA chapter. When I first met Stetson, there was a few things that stuck out to me right away. Stetson had a glow around him. When he entered the room, nearly every head turned his way. Stetson, when I glanced down, Stetson was wearing a jacket that read, "Third place district tractor driving." Now, knowing how competitive his district was in this contest, I could see why he was wearing it with such pride. Stetson had quite a few classes with us that day. Each time he entered the room, he would get the same response. He was active and engaged, bringing the energy of whatever class he was in up to a whole new level, leading most of our thoughtful discussions. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention one little detail. Stetson spent that whole day sitting in a wheelchair. As a matter of fact, Stetson has spent the last 3 years of his life in a wheelchair. A few years ago, Stetson was in a tractor accident where he lost mobility of his legs, with a chance he would never get it back again. Stetson had giants staring down at him, giants that tried to take purpose from his life. But Stetson had a choice. He could choose to solely think about how this accident was going to affect him and the differences it was going to make in his life. Or he can choose to use this accident to positively affect others and make a difference in the lives of everyone around him. Stetson experienced firsthand that the things that happen to you in your life can do one of 3 things. They can either defeat you, define you, or develop you. The choice is yours. Stetson made the right decision. A year later, he competed in the district tractor driving contest. And well, like David, the rest is history. Today, still in a wheelchair, Stetson stands taller than anyone else in my eyes. We have all had times in our life where we have been frustrated. Whether it's arguments with family and friends, homework that piles up, a sport you make every practice but sit on the bench every game. Things pile up like walls that stop us in our tracks. When you're a kid in school, you may be told that you're worthless, and your walls build stronger and stronger. You get teased and harassed, and your walls that now surround you grow higher and higher. I have never met anyone in my life more frustrated, someone who wanted to just give up and hated his life more than a good friend in middle school. In 6th grade, I started the year knowing absolutely no one. But I quickly made friends with a kid who was just like me. He loved playing basketball more than anything. We would beg our moms to wait just a couple of hours to pick us up after school so we can shoot hoops in the gym until the janitor kicked us out. From the outside, he looked like an ordinary 6th grade kid. But then I started to notice some strange things about him. Like, he would randomly leave throughout the week. Nobody knew where he went or why he left. Regardless, he would always show up by the end of the day. When a fellow classmate confronted him about it, he shrugged it off and said he had a dentist appointment or a doctor's appointment, or made some other kind of excuse. Then, one day at lunch, something happened that would change the course of his middle school career. One day, there was a long line waiting to get lunch, and my new friend was at the front of it, holding it up. A fellow classmate overheard him trying to sound out the lunch menu and jokingly said, "Hey man, can't you read?" My new friend's face turned pale white, and tears came to his eyes. A couple of kids started teasing and laughing at him, and without grabbing his lunch, he buried his face in his hands and ran out the door. Shortly after, everyone discovered the reason why he'd been missing so much school was because he was visiting a speech therapist and a tutor 3 times a week. It turned out the kid could barely read a word. Shortly after, he became the butt of every joke and was called every name you could think of. They called him stupid, dumb, slow, idiot. One kid went as far as slapped him on the back of the head and said, "Maybe that will make you smarter." Day in and day out, his life became more and more miserable. He would beg his parents not to make him go back to school. He started to believe that he himself, as a human being, was nothing more than a failure. The other students would remind him each day of what his weaknesses were and told him the things that he would never accomplish. In fact, I even overheard his mom talking to his teacher. His teacher said, "You're going to have to find another school. I can't keep dumbing down the work for your son. It's not fair to the other kids. He is just unable to learn." The worst part is, he believed every word they said. Now this went on and on and on through all of middle school. But then something changed. Our freshman year, we joined the FFA, and our ACT teacher encouraged him to compete in the creed speaking contest. Now, I don't know if it was our ACT teacher's confidence in him or what, but something inside him told him to give it a shot. I mean, the worst that could happen was he failed, and he'd become pretty used to that. So he went home and had his dad read to him all 5 paragraphs of the creed and helped him memorize every word. Now, nobody, including me, expected him to be very good, but it turned out he wasn't just good. He was great. He got first at districts, first at sectionals, and after making it through the semifinal round at state, the unthinkable happened. Here, a kid who was teased his whole life, who could barely read the words of the creed he gave so well, was standing on stage with the state creed-speaking blue banner. In that day, in that moment, his whole life changed. People came up to him and said, "Man, that kid has a future. Man, that kid's going places. That kid was me." And the rest is history. Oregon FFA, don't let this jacket fool you. I know what it's like to fail, to be an underdog, to have a disability, and I know what it's like to have a giant in your life. So don't tell me that there is anything you can't do. Don't tell me that anything is impossible, and don't tell me there is a wall too big or a giant too strong. Oregon FFA, like David and Stetson, each of us have a choice to make. And that choice isn't to surrender on a battlefield or surrender to a wheelchair or surrender to whatever the giants are in your life. Joshua 1:9b tells us to be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified or discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Oregon FFA, I know being courageous isn't always easy, but now is the time to stand up for yourself, to plow through whatever walls are set before you, and to no longer take the path of least resistance. Instead, charge forward, knowing that who you are and what you represent is worth more than any crippling self-doubt. Oregon FFA, now is the time to put out the flames of fear, to rise up from the ashes of uncertainty, and now is the time to be courageous. Oregon FFA, now is the time to face your giants.
retiring officer flag. Oregon FFA, your state president, Ryan Kelly.